In the last video we looked at making a bass line out of a name using a code, a cipher that we designed. You can see here that I've got the bass line having pretended that my name was Lucy, and if I double click on those on the line that I recorded and scroll down here at the bottom, I can see the notes that I recorded. They can actually be edited. You can click on them and drag them up and down. And you can also drag at the end and make them longer. And you can even, if you want to make them all longer, for instance, at the moment they sound short like this, I can grab them all and make them all longer at once by dragging the end of just one of them. Now they sound like this. It's quite a difference, isn't it? But this video isn't about that. This video is about recording drum parts. And we're going to start off with the absolute easy cop-out way of doing it. As a general rule, I'm not a big fan of using pre-made loops in GarageBand. In other words, loops that other people have made that come with the program. I'm sure you've used them before. But one of the ways it might be acceptable for this particular project is if you used some of the pre-made loops just for drum beats. So to do that, I've clicked on the loops button down here, and I've clicked on all drums, and now that's going to give me a big list of different drums that I've got. I'm particularly interested, I've started something which sounds kind of quite grungy and techno-y, so I'm going to go for techno, and just down here in the search column and just see whether I can find techno anything. No, that's no good, not much choice on that. Maybe I'll go industrial, see if I can find it. No, I'm not having much luck, am I? And maybe have a look for electronic. There we go, few more things there. Let's try what this breakbeat looks like. No, it's a bass. Don't seem to be under drums anymore, so I'll just click on drums again and go electronic. There we go, 4. That's a bit of choice. Oh yeah, I like that very much. Let's have a look at this one. Oh yeah, maybe one after another there. Yeah. Okay, cool. So this one's kind of like an intro-y one, so I've just dragged that onto the main screen, and I'm going to start that in my 3rd bar. And then what I want to do is I want to go and, yep, I think maybe that one can come. These are quite long drum beats, they go for quite a long time, so that's going to allow me to, yeah, gradually make changes to them by not just having the same one that goes forever and ever, although of course we've already learned how to loop this bass line. If I drag my mouse pointer to the top right, I can drag it out to add lots more bars, but in this particular case, yeah, there's some nice changes in feels here, and I might just have that go for 16 bars as well. By the way, in popular music, quite often we work in phrases of 4 or 8 or 16 or 32 bars. So in this particular case, you can see here that we've got 32 beats in one of those, which of course is 8 bars, as you can see from the length of this blue line here. So now I've got a bunch of different drum beats. These are ones that have been made for me in GarageBand. Let's just go and have a little bit of a listen to how that works. So there's probably actually slightly too much change in that. You don't want to be changing all of the time in the drum beat because it gets quite hard to listen to. It sort of feels like it's jumping around and hasn't got any structure. But it's pretty interesting, and I do like those beats a lot. Having said that, the big disadvantage, and the reason that I don't really like encouraging people to use the ready-made drum beats in GarageBand that are there as loops, is because it's much more fun to make your own stuff. And it's not hard to make something that is fairly simple but effective, perhaps not quite as complex as those lines that we've just imported. But here is my quick lesson for creating interesting drum beats. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete that line, and instead I'm going to click on the bottom left arrow down here, which allows me to add a new track. Now I don't have a real drum kit with me, so it won't be real instrument. I'm going to use a software instrument and use the on-screen keyboard that I used before to put in the bass line. Now it's very important to make sure that you're in octave C1 when you do drums and drum kits, and that's because the bass drum is always here. But before I can play it, I'll need to go to my grand piano that's come up and make sure that I can actually change that to a drum kit. Again, I've probably got more drum kits than you, but don't worry, you should have at least 5 or 6 in different styles. Here's a dance kit for me. I might like to go for something just a little bit bigger than that. You've probably got the techno kit. I wonder what the warehouse kit sounds like. No, that's far too real. Trance remix. Interesting, but nah, still after something a little bit harder. You can waste at least 10 or 11 hours doing this. There you go, the word hard. Hard techno remix. That's fantastic. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to record in just the bass drum, and I already told you this key here is the bass drum. Before I record though, there's a setting I need to check, and I did this with all of the classes that I taught at ISB, so I'm just going to go to Preferences. To get to Preferences, you go to GarageBand at the top left and down to Preferences, or you can just press the shortcut Command and comma. Once I'm in Preferences, I am just going to check that this button here, or this option here, has got a tick. It says Cycle Recording. Automatically merge software instrument recordings when using the cycle region. You don't need to know why right now, but you do need to make sure that's on. And talking about the cycle region, down at the bottom, more or less in the middle next to the display, is the cycle region on or off button. We're going to turn that on, and as soon as I tap this button here, you can see that I get this yellow line in there. Now the yellow line is particularly useful for showing you which area it's now going to record over and over again. So I can choose to record over and over a 4-bar pattern, or a 2-bar pattern, or even a 1-bar pattern if I want to keep it really simple. I'll go for 2 bars today, feeling a little bit adventurous, but not terribly. Now as soon as I hit the record button, it starts recording. You can hear it ticking away, but it's quite happy to just record over those 2 bars again and again and again until I'm ready to play. So all I've done there is added the bass drum on the beat. Having a bit of a problem getting the first beat in. 1, 2, 3, and okay, that's going to be a little bit late now, but I'll quantize it. Yeah, that's a little bit late. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to stop that, and I'm going to go into quantizing. You remember we used this to fix our rhythm in the last video, and it doesn't really matter what I set that to. I'll set it to 1/8 notes. It'll probably work absolutely fine. Let's have another listen now. Yeah, I've got my beat. Now what we can keep on doing, because we've got this cycle region going and the setting that we set up in Preferences, we can actually add some other sounds just while it's going. So I'm going to hit the record button down here to get that recording over the top. This button here corresponds to the D key, is my snare drum, and this button here, closed hi-hat, this one here, open hi-hat. So okay, and I'm going to add some hi-hats now. There we go. So Just there in those few minutes, I managed to create a complete drum loop. And of course, if it goes wrong, no problem. Just undo or delete it and try again. I'm going to turn off the cycle region now, and I'm going to loop that out for a few bars so I can actually hear how it sounds coming in a few bars later. We like layering our instruments in one at a time. Here we go.